All right, let's see. Test mic 1, 2. Let's see if everything's coming through all right. Bum bum. Looks like there's a small delay. Okay, great. I'm hearing audio. So, all right. So I'm thinking about like a 30-second delay. So, yeah, we're doing some new stuff. So, hello everybody. Welcome. Gosh, it has been a little while as far as live streaming goes. So I somewhat similar setup to before, but a lot of things have been rearranged. Kind of playing around with some new shots, which hopefully you all get to see today. So I'll do the whole intro and thing once. So okay, now that I know this is working, because as you might notice, we're not on Twitch anymore. We're on YouTube, and so part of this is like a whole refactoring on my workflow to kind of make things a lot simpler. So hopefully it's just coming through. Oh. There she is. Yep. Okay. Seeing Cassie's response. Perfect. Yes. I know. I think at some point I'll do the multi-platform stream so that everyone who's using whatever they want, whether it's Twitch, whatever. But then this way, I think it'll streamline my own workflow as far as getting the recording up, because I know that's something that people often ask for. And part of the reason the live streaming kind of fell apart at one point is because I had a fairly complex workflow that was just not very sustainable. So that's on me. That said, all right, let me drop this stream on the following things. Bum, 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 bum. All right, that's that. And then I'll post it here. Oh, I forgot. Twitter does the do. There we go. Post that there because of limits. And then bum. Let's see. All right. I'm excited today because this is something I've been itching to do. So as far as getting back to live streaming, but more importantly, we got some fun stuff set up for today. So yeah, I really need to streamline the sharing part of going live, but one thing at a time, right? Okay, perfect. All right, so all the things have been shared so people can hopefully, I mean, again, I didn't do a ton of scheduling for this because we're progress over perfection. That's the key goal for this. Gosh, the amount of times perfection has interfered with my ability to live stream and stuff is quite wild. Okay, so let's start with basic intro. So again, for those joining, welcome. Oh, apparently I cannot chat directly in. Let me see. Oh, can't do that. Uh-oh. What did I do? Boop. Sorry. 1 second. I lost the chat. And the chat is important. Do. All right. There we go. Oh, nope. Back. All right. Are we back on? Okay, great. I can see the chat again. I see Tamaz in the chat. It's my I wouldn't call it my motto regarding the progress over perfection. It's but it is something I call it. I like to remind myself as the POP principle, just because as someone who constantly tries to do things as in the right way, it has prevented me from doing things at all quite a number of times. Okay. So as far as introduction goes, so anyways, for those joining, welcome. So this is Ben's office hours. And so as I've been reflecting on sort of my past content, how I've been doing things, for those who've been following, I have two different series. I have Build with Ben, and then I also have the Obsidian office hours, which was also kind of like a productivity office hours at one point. And so those were kind of dedicated topics, right? Obsidian office hours, and then I was streaming Build with Ben, which kind of like live coding, kind of build with me. I noticed there were I got some feedback regarding the fact that some of those sessions were a bit confusing because, particularly with the build with Ben, because I think people were hoping for a little bit more of a tutorial style guided exercise rather than sort of like me sort of freestyling and that kind of thing. And so what I needed though, as I sort of dip my toe back in as far as live streaming and creating video content, was a space for me to just be on camera with you all, just to hang out, and more importantly, just a chance for me to just freestyle improvise a little bit with kind of whatever was interesting to me that week, without the constraint of like having to come up with specific topics around Obsidian, for example, or coding or whatever. And so hence going forward, the new Ben's office hours is essentially is that as it sounds. We're gonna come on. If I have some topics scheduled, I'll go ahead and post those up so people know. But otherwise, there's a chance to just come hang out, bring questions and whatnot. And then, so as far as Build with Ben, Obsidian office hours, those will probably come back in the future, especially if, for example, if one of these office hours becomes very dedicated to a particular topic, then I think what I would want to do with that is continue those series, but more in a little bit more of an edited fashion, so that those who are looking for those specific series can like get specific outcomes out of those over sort of this more office hours style. So that kind of just want to do a quick recap for those kind of joining who are new or who might be joining again, sort of what the new format is going forward. But yeah, I think that's basically it. With that said, I think we're going to jump right into, I think what I know some of you all are here to watch, which is that I got the brand new Daylight computer. So, and so I guess... So I wish the box was branded, to be honest. This just looks like a normal white box right now. But this is the new Daylight computer. We're going to do some unboxing. We're going to get some first impressions. And then I thought ahead. I even have all my other e-ink devices, right? So this is the Supernote. We got the FreeWrite Traveler as well. Whoops, this is me bumping the mic. And we have the Remarkable as well. And so we got some things to take a look at, things to try. So cool. All right. So first thing first, let's go ahead and talk about what came in the box. So this fluffy little thing, I'll be honest, I thought it was some Daylight swag, like maybe like a puffy vest or something. But no, not at all. This is actually a device case. So if you notice the way it opens, it's like this magnetic cover, and inside it's very fluffy. It's like it's honestly like it's very soft inside, and honestly like I would want my blanket made out of this material. It's very nice. So anyways, this thing is apparently what will hold the Daylight computer device. Overall, I love sort of the stitching, the fabric, and what's inside of it. So I'm confident it would protect it. My only, I guess if I had a criticism of this particular, call it protective sleeve, is that it is a bit on the thicker side. So in the event you're traveling with this, probably not something you want to put in your backpack, just because it'll just take up a decent amount of space, because it is kind of on the fluffier side. So yeah, otherwise, like again, again, I love the color, and then especially with the orange logo, like it kind of just, it's a nice vibe. But otherwise, yeah, that's on the protective sleeve that I got with the device. So that's that. All right, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna work on this unboxing, and so it might just gonna like be holding things up to the camera. No, I thought ahead this time, and so for those joining, this is the first time we're gonna actually get to try this out. So here we go. Hopefully, oh, you know what? This is gonna be a little bit of a tricky thing, but we're gonna figure this out together. All right. So 3, 2, 1. Let's switch it on over. Oh boy. All right. Woo. All right. Cool. Let me see. Can I get this right? All right. We're gonna extend this a little higher up. All right. All right. So this is my top down, but I just realized I don't have the camera available for facial reactions. So give me 1 sec as we try to figure this out. Gonna add this right here. Whoop. All right. So this won't be perfect because for those watching, because you may notice that the camera is absolutely in my face, but that's okay. All right. So I'm just gonna keep in mind that this, okay, actually maybe that's what I'll do. I'll stick on over here. We are trying new things right now. Okay, there we go. Got a little portrait profile of me. Hello, hello. And we got top-down view, although okay, I think we're clipping the laptop a little bit. So let me see. Can I All right, that should do the trick. All right, fantastic. All right, gonna move this over. Great. For those wondering what this little keyboard mouse pad is, this is Luffy from One Piece. So a little bit of nerdum there. Okay. All right, let's do this. So let me put the devices down. All right, great. All right, so I guess live unboxing. I've been actually thinking about doing this for a long time, so super excited to do this. So here we go. Bum, 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 bum. And so, by the way, for those wondering about the edited stuff, this is one of the reasons why the edited stuff would be different, because then I could do like B-roll and that kind of stuff. But again, that's the ideal way. So this is why we're just doing this for now. So what do we got? Okay, so far so good. So protective cardboard box. Oh, well, that was a lot of hullabaloo. Okay, so it looks like this white box is really just protection to make sure it doesn't the actual device does not slot around. Okay, this is much better. Okay, great. Ugh. Okay, so now this is way more aesthetically pleasing. Now I'm gonna get I guess we'll just freeze a couple of shots of this, because this is ultimately what came in the very generic white box. And so yeah, I'm vibing on this. Let's see. So we got the Daylight computer. Yep. And all right, so let's slide this off and let's go. All right, so okay, here we go. It looks like it's meant to be open this way. And let's see, do I have the shot? There we go. Boop. All right, so we got a little note from the Daylight team on this left. We hope this computer gives you a little more embodiment, a little more space, a little more peace of mind, and a little more trust in your unrealized potential. Heart, Anjan, and Daylight. Ah, that's very cute. Okay, so let there be light. Welcome to the third timeline. Ooh, I like that. All right, so okay, the device is a bit hefty. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So instead, we got a little patch to sew on inside of here as well. And then we bump this over, actually. All right, what is this? Looks like postcards, kind of. Okay, so a little get started guide. Looks like this is just kind of like an art card. Art piece. We got some basics. Your obligatory FCC stuff. Probably just about stuff, compliance, power supply, blah, blah, blah. All right, we're not going to worry about that. So we're going to set that off to the side. Then what else do you got? Actually, I'll set this off to the side too. You know what? Honestly, really like the packaging. Normally, I'm used to things kind of... Oh, what happened? Oh, no. Are we back? Okay, I think we're back. Okay, hopefully that was random. But, okay, I'm not sure... Okay, yeah, this is why this is unscripted, really. Need to double check to make sure I didn't lose anything on the chat side. All right, great. Did not lose anything on the chat side. All right, cool. So I guess I'll start that again in case something got lost. But overall, so far, really enjoy the packaging in terms of things being really compact. And then as you can see here, rather than just sort of nondescript boxes, even though we haven't opened anything, if I were to guess, we have our Daylight pen here. This here I'm going to assume is a charging cable. These 5 rows or little, I wonder what, maybe pen tips, if I had to guess. But anyhow, we're going to find out. Okay, so we got, how does this work? Pull on out. Okay, there we go. And voila. Okay, we have the pen. Fantastic. And that's it. Cool. And then, let's see. Yep, just as expected, we got a braided USB-C cable. Fantastic, easy enough. And last but not least, what do we think this is? Hey, I called it. Okay, we have the pen tips. I think that's it. So This is actually not new to me because I own a Remarkable, so we'll talk about a little bit about this later. But typically with these e-ink devices, the ones that have like the writing tablet, you have two basically approaches to it. One is with the removable tip that is supposed to allow for essentially better tactile feel. And then there are other ones who are basically you don't remove at all. It's just like the almost like a plastic tip instead. So we'll talk more about this later when we're sort of doing a little bit of comparison because I have both of those ready to go to talk about. And then this metal ring right here, if you're wondering, is meant to basically help you pull out the basically here, and you would go ahead and grab the tip and then sort of yank it out, as you can see here. So that's really all it's for. Just makes your life a little bit easier. Essentially, it is a very fancy pair of tweezers. So, okay, that settles that. So let me drop that back down. All right, cool. All right, so I think looks like that's everything in the box. Again, I actually do really like the construction on this. The cardboard on this is high quality. Again, super easy to slide out. I guess an easy comparison to this would be like your Apple devices where you have to do that like really slow box drag that comes out of it, which is nice in its own way, but can be, I think, a little bit annoying if you're in a rush to try to get it out. And so I like sort of the book opening example of this. So yeah, so with that, let's go ahead and drop this off to the side. And let's look at the main event. Whoop. Okay. And that over. All right, so really do want to fix this top-down view at some point, but at least it's working. Cool. All right, so let's take a look at this, shall we? All right, so looks like pretty strong adhesive. Okay, that's that. All right. Okay, pretty straightforward. All right. So first impressions, weight. This reminds me kind of the first iPad that I have in terms of like it's got a little bit of heft on it. Thickness wise, I mean, you can look at all the dimensions, but you can see here it is. Let me see. Let me grab. This is time for the device comparisons a little bit. All right. Let's grab everything real quick. See, how do I remove this from here? Boop, 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 boop. All right. Here we go. Hey, Mark. How's it going? Good to see you too. All right. So since we're here, since we're talking about e-ink devices, look at that. Boom. You're probably sort of the top 3 e-ink tablet devices that are kind of on the market right now. Granted, I am missing the Kindle Scribe, so I do want to acknowledge the fact that I'm missing that. But again, the fact that I have 3 here shows more than most people probably would have. But anyways, the fun part of device comparison. Okay, so as you can see here, the Remarkable here is by far the thinnest, if we're taking a look at this. Of the 3 devices, yeah, it looks like there's no contest here as far as the Remarkable being super thin. And so from a portability perspective, that can make a big difference, especially because, for example, like when I think of these devices, I am thinking about portability from like what kind of bag I need to bring. And so I do have like an everyday carry that is about 10 inches. It's the nomadic one. And so with this new top-down view, hopefully I can start doing more products. I'll call it reviews, I guess. And so the Remarkable actually fits really well in that regard because it's so thin. And then so as a result, you're really just carrying the pen and this, and then it kind of easy to carry around. On the other hand, though, we have something like this, right, which is the Supernote. This here, a little bit more Kindle size. And so as this regard, a little bit more portable. But as you can see, it is on the thicker side in comparison. And then, of course, now we have sort of essentially the Remarkable size. Sorry. Yeah, I said that right. The Remarkable size Daylight computer, which is basically 1-to-1, I would say, with the yeah. So the Daylight computer is a 1-to-1 to the Remarkable. I have the 2, just actually to be specific. And the main difference here, obviously, now being that it is a bit on the thicker side. So That being said, let's put the other devices to the side and let's turn this baby on. All right, so I'm assuming the top is the power button. If not, we're gonna have to go fetch some directions. So we have an orange button up top here, interestingly enough. And I don't see anything happening. Maybe there's a button up top here as well. So maybe 1, 2, 3. Oh, okay. So let's say that was the power button. Although, yay for instructions. So maybe I'll just grab those real quick. Luckily, I did not put those too far. Okay, so if we take a look at this, okay, got it. So we have some quick action. The top one's actually quick action. Funny enough, that's what I thought was power. Back button here on the side, volume. Oh, there's a micro SD slot as well. Great. And then power. All right, cool. Easy enough as far as the anatomy of the device. Ooh, okay. Here we go. Okay, so that was pretty quick startup. I kind of didn't even notice. And oh, this is smooth. Wait. That's really funny. I spot a wild Obsidian on this device. I was not expecting this. Okay, so what? This was 100% not planned, but this is pretty darn cool. If this is, yep. Okay, so this is a whole granting permission to use storage, allow access to files. All right, cool. So I can set up Obsidian Sync. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I guess for those who haven't followed this device as closely, so yeah, okay, that works just like I would expect from an iPad. So the Daylight computer is I believe it's it's an extension on top of, it's running basically Android OS and the underneath the hood, if I'm not mistaken. And so as you can see, you basically have the ability to access all your different apps. And wow, this is way smoother than I thought it would be. I was optimistic, and so we're going to do some comparisons in about just a sec. But you can see here that when I'm hovering over with the pen, it actually is being pretty responsive as far as where the pen is. And so that is great. Okay, but yep, we see Notion on here too. We got readers, we got Kindle, we got music. Okay, that's something I'm going to have to test out at another point too. All right, so again, we're just gonna go straight into the drawing. So where can I get what's my notebook on this thing? Clock drives. Okay, so it doesn't look like there's a bespoke Daylight app for drawing because I think they're expecting you to just use what's on here, I guess. Oh, interesting. Look at this interaction. You can pull the letters here. This is so pretty. I like this a lot. It's a little bit janky. In terms of like, you do have a little bit of a jump feel on the left hand side as it's switching, but otherwise super smooth. Like I did not expect this interaction. And look, I can pull it all the way to the left. Hey, that's fun. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, that is snazzy. For those who, whoever came up with this interaction, really well done. And I'm seeing some new UI here in that regard too, is that I like this idea that like there's this alphabetical part to it, but then there's very clearly like the favorites here at the very top, which is indicated by that star. And then when we drag it all the way down to the bottom, you're essentially right down to your settings, which on the other devices are not as clear to do. So once again, we'll take a look at that in a little bit. And so I was wrong. So here we go. I think notebook. This looks like something that might be tailored specifically to the Daylight. So this is note shelf, digital note taking, take notes, record audio. Okay. So again, forgive me for my ignorance on this. Notebook might actually just be an Android app, but for now, I'm just going to assume this is something. Oh, this is note shelf. Okay. So maybe not, but we're going to try anyways. All right, here we go. So got the Amber, got the sample notebook. Okay, let's see how this goes. So, hello. Let's say YouTube live stream. Hey, okay. that was super smooth. As far as tactile feel goes, I think this compares most closely to the Remarkable 2. So this is where probably we need to bring back now some of the other devices. So, all right, so here we have that side by side. Oh, does this magnetically clip? This is what I don't think it does. Maybe. Whoop. Kind of, the ridge here would seem to indicate it would, but I guess not. Can I erase like this? Oh, there we go. Here's erasing. So there's a little button here on the side of the pen. So it looks like that is what allows you to then quickly access your eraser tool. Although, nope, this is not a magic button. Oh, okay, clever. From a design perspective, because if you don't want to use your finger to kind of scroll and look at things, one of the challenges with having a page is that you're either writing on it or you're not. And so we'll just kind of talk a little bit about how that's dealt with on the other devices. But this is cool that they basically turn the back end of the pen to an ability to like just tap, interact, and that way you don't feel like a need to like use your finger to do anything, which I actually do think this is super nice. The only thing I think I'm missing at this point regarding this device specifically is I do wish there was a way that this would clip on. Now maybe I'm missing something, but to demonstrate what I mean. Boom. We got the Remarkable tablet right here. And so you can see here, again, super thin. There is basically, as you can see, it already hanging here. So there's a magnetic space strip that holds the pen down. And so if we go ahead and turn on the Remarkable, let's go ahead. All right, so here we have a brand new page. So you can see here as far as writing, so I'm like, hello, YouTube live stream. Oh, did my camera go out again? Oh dear. So this is... Okay. Okay, so as far as hiccups go, so I'm trying to stream with the iPhone live camera, which honestly for resolution and compactness is working really well, but for some reason on occasion it'll just turn off, which I don't understand. But okay, let me just do this again in case it didn't record the whole thing. So here we have the hello YouTube live stream. Okay, so as you can see here, like as far as like responsiveness, it's actually quite good. But the only thing here though is that the difference is the Remarkable pen, there's no additional button to sort of initiate the eraser. And so what you have to do is you turn around, which I do like, and you can just kind of erase. So it kind of basically reminds you of that pencil vibe. However though, if I want to say switch another page, you'll notice that if I try to do this, like try to swipe, it doesn't do anything. I basically have to use my finger in order to add a new page. And then I believe this might work. So yeah, so there's this very specific icon on here in the upper left that will allow me to basically, let me see. Man, that is remarkably smooth. That allow me to access everything. And so if we take a look at sort of the main, let me go back to the main menu. As we can see here, it does take a second to sort of get things loaded, which is to be expected, right? This is pretty standard as far as e-ink devices go. And so if we want to go to settings, you can see here sort of blinks, blinks over, that kind of stuff. Yeah. So my only thing though, let me see real quick here. If I wanted to, let's take a look at the settings. The look. Can we turn off the amber? Because the, let's see, use device theme, always enabled, pitch black theme requires dark theme. How do I turn off the amber theme color? Nope. Adapts to wallpaper, standard. Bum, bum, bum. Okay, so yeah, this feels definitely like that feels more standard Android. And so okay, that's something I can play around with. But okay, as far as some other things regarding technical sort of I guess like an overview. So I guess actually, you know what? No, before I jump into that, just to keep the section consistent. So we just took a look at sort of writing with the Remarkable 2, which looks pretty similar. And then, so far, I would say these two devices are actually pretty comparable as far as the writing experience goes. And then we have here the Supernote, which I must admit I do not use. Oh, before I move away from the mic, which I must admit I don't use nearly as often. And so if we just open, let's see, a new notebook, sure, create. So this thing is fairly responsive. So it uses I think they partner with, I don't know if the pronunciation is Lamy, to sort of make this pen. So if you're used to like if you're familiar with the fountain pens, this might look familiar. And so right now what we can see here is that, so one thing you'll notice with this is that this similarly, oh, there it is, right? Okay. Is it not focusing correctly? Oh gosh, I think the camera, I don't know why the camera goes in up. Camera's back in. Okay. This might be one of the woes of using the phone camera as your top down, but things for me to try to figure out over time. So the pen has a button basically to signify, basically just like the Remarkable, too many devices here. Just like the Daylight computer. So as you can see here, I can write, so again, let's see, hello, YouTube live stream. Okay, I ran out of space. But you get the general gist. So as far as responsiveness, as you can see here, it's still fairly smooth. But there's a key difference here in that this one has what is essentially, it's not obviously going to be easy to tell on this, but there's a plastic nib on here that you essentially never replace. And so the benefit of that is you never have to replace it because the little nibs here that you get in order, like that we see here from the Remarkable. Oh my gosh. Well, technically Remarkable has very similar pen tips, if not nearly identical. But Daylight clearly opted for that as well. Because it has more of that paper gritty feel, I would make the case that this is the better writing experience. If you're trying to save money, though, theoretically, this one is better, right? Because you never have to replace the nibs. But I would argue if you're making that much use out of the device and it's helping with the creativity part, I mean, I don't know. For me, the tactile feel is absolutely worth it compared to having the compared to the plastic tip. And that's probably why I actually don't use the Supernote as much, is because I find the writing experience to be slightly subpar in comparison. And so that's sort of the TLDR on that, despite its compact size. And so there's a lot to love about the Supernote. But I just usually end up leaning towards the Remarkable 2. And it's possible, to be fair as well, as from comparison perspective, is that the real estate makes the difference for me, I think, when I'm sketching and drawing. And so the tightness of this, the fact that it's a little bit more Kindle size, I think makes it a little bit trickier. However, so I think, speaking of that, all right, so now we're back on here. The fact that, so you might be wondering though, right? Or for those who are a little bit more informed, you might be thinking like, oh, well, why are the devices so different, right? If they're all e-ink devices. And I did do some reading onto this. And so if I'm not mistaken, so again, take this with a grain of salt. From what I understand, the Daylight computer is not truly an e-ink device in the sense that like the display technology used for things like the Remarkable, for the Supernote, these devices, those are what I think what they call consider true e-ink as far as like how the ink is kind of pushed up to the display. I think the Daylight computer uses a combination of like, I want to say mirrors, if I remember reading correctly, where they basically simulate the e-ink experience because their goal is really about reducing the LED light, the blue LED light that you're getting when you're looking at it. So as a result, this is part of the reason why the performance is drastically different, right? Because I mean, look how smooth the animation is for this. Like again, I will be playing with this for quite some time. It's super smooth, and so the fact that we essentially have like an Android device on here, I mean, from the keyboard perspective, I mean, Ben Hong, I mean, super quick. Versus again, if we take a look at, say, let's take the Supernote for example. Whoop. Let me go back. Can I do the keyboard? Oh, this is the recognition. See, and then I think I had to do this for the menu. And then let me just try to do, can I do an email? Oh no, this is, okay, that's fine. I'm just gonna, I'm really trying to show the keyboard, but apparently it wants to do recognition instead. Can I just type something in? Oh, here we go. Perfect. So you can see here, if I'm like Ben, like there's kind of like, there is a slight lag. So I'm like gmail.com, like, oh, in fact, it even missed the C. So that's kind of more of what you can expect when you see, basically when you're working with the e-ink devices. It's a little bit jankier just because there's that full refresh that essentially is happening, which I think a lot of us have forgot, or a lot of people either have never experienced especially from the good old like web days when the whole page would refresh. That's kind of how the e-ink devices really feel. Oh, Mark here is Lamy. Okay, Lamy, perfect. Yeah, I think I was just like Cassie. I was pronouncing it Lamy for quite some time. Connor here, can you play Doom on it? You know what? From what I understand, after playing around with it a little bit, even with this first impression, it basically looks like a full-blown Android device. However, the display is different, and more importantly, they've integrated this, what essentially is, yeah, I think that's actually how I would sum it up. As far as the first impression goes, the Daylight computer feels like you take an Android tablet and you take the Remarkable's like writing screen along with their pen, and then fused it together into one device. And that's essentially what this is. Because the fact that, as you can see here, I see a bunch of apps here for Gmail. I see Kindle, Libby, Notion, New York Times Games. Again, the fact that I'm going to be able to load Obsidian on this is just, yeah, I don't know why it didn't click to me, because I remember reading there's going to be an Android device, but I was like figuring there's going to be a bunch of bespoke Daylight computing apps, which would have been fine. But granted, that is a lot more burden for the team and the company to support. But I don't see. I mean, if the tablet can support it, if the Android system supports it, it looks like it might be able to. So I mean, let's see. Do they have the store? Maybe the Android store is really the question, because actually, that is an excellent question regarding how do you add. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Here we go. So, oh, we have to sign in. Oh, bummer. Okay, I have to. I'm not gonna set up all this stuff right now, because this is really about first impressions. Yeah, Mark. Yep. Yeah, it looks like he's using the Niagara launcher. Yep. So I don't know what Niagara Pro is. Oh, okay. This is the whole thing. All right. So yeah. So okay. We'll learn more about this. But again, my goal with this particular session was to basically give first impressions. Now, granted, I'm gonna use this. I'm planning on basically migrating a bunch of my workflows from the Remarkable, Supernote, and arguably even the key. In fact, I didn't even show this. But for those, where'd it go? It's almost like every time the phone thinks I lost focus, like it decides to walk away. This is a FreeWrite Traveler as well, which some of you may have seen I've been talking about lately. I do love bringing this device around because essentially you have this ability to have a full-blown like scissor switch keyboard that works really well from like an input perspective. But then you can see that it's a little bit. Oh, did the camera go out again? Sob. Okay. All right. So again, here, it's not the perfect angle, but if I go, okay, this is my ability to type on this device and talk about the things that are on my mind. You can see here that it is like the display is a little bit delayed, but at the same time, with the way I use this particular device for FreeWrite, this works really well because I'm not really trying to watch what's happening on screen while I'm typing. It very much is a free flow. Here's what I have going on in my head. And so I will say in that regard, I think the Daylight computer might have a trickier time replacing this device for that in that particular perspective, because I basically will need to, I think, yeah, unless I carried a keyboard. I mean, don't put it past me. I probably will look into a keyboard to try to see what I can do to kind of mimic this. But overall, yeah, I would say as far as like, I guess closing thoughts. Got a question from Connor here. What's your workflow process to migrate to Obsidian? Oh yeah, not to migrate. Let's talk actually from an actually I think we can include that in the wrap up because I think that's part of what I think is important about this particular discussion. So regarding all these different devices that we have here, whoops. Okay. So, in case for those who are new to my channel, sort of, and my workflow, Obsidian is a really big part of it. Basically, it's a note-taking app that records everything in Markdown. And so typically, usually the way these devices work, actually, let me take out this real quick. The way these three devices work is that there's typically a third-party sync. So in other words, whether it's Remarkable, whether it's Supernote and FreeWrite, they sync to usually, let's keep it simple, either Google Drive folder or a Dropbox folder, right? Third-party file storage system. And then from there, you can basically manually copy it over. And so for something like FreeWrite, you theoretically can have like a daemon or basically like an app that watches a folder and copies it over. But I find that for the FreeWrite, I tend to do it a little bit more manually just because the text files aren't terribly complicated. But that said, I probably should do a dedicated video on the FreeWrite and my workflow for it. But the Remarkable, I would say on the other hand, is a little bit trickier because once you export it, then you basically have to make sure you drop it in as some sort of PDF. Because it is like a drawing, right, of like what it is you're thinking about. And so the text recognition is decent, but then there's just more stuff you have to think about and do. And so I'm really interested to see how, like, I think the Daylight computer might serve as that perfect bridge for me because I can just write directly inside of it. And so if I can actually leverage Obsidian's Canvas tool, or I don't know, we'll see how far we can take it. I assure you, I will try to push the device to its utmost limits. So, and then otherwise, yeah. So as far as a general wrap up regarding first impressions for this stream, I'm super stoked regarding what I see regarding the responsiveness. It basically lives up to the hype. And then as far as like, again, the pen, the traction, my only concerns about this is that this is on the heavier side. And so if, portability is a concern for you of like keeping your bag as light as possible, the Remarkable 2 still is, I would argue, the better. If you're just really just looking to sketch and that kind of stuff, the Remarkable tablet is still phenomenal for that. And again, if you really do want compact size, I do think the Supernote is a pretty interesting one. But again, the tactile feel between the pens, if that is something of concern for you, I still find that I would say that the Remarkable is better from a writing experience perspective. Yeah. Otherwise, I think that'll wrap up the first impressions for the Daylight computer. Again, super excited to try this out. And then I will basically do, it says October. At first I was like, is October 30th? That does not look right. No, it's not connected to the internet. So of course it's, I don't think it has synced up all its calendar stuff. But basically, I think a month from now, we'll get a little update. I'll, for those following me, I'm primarily on Blue Sky now. So I'll basically be posting updates in my live experience as I go, but there'll certainly be another session where I get to cover how things are going from that perspective. So with that said, I think that's a wrap. People, feel free. I know there's a little bit of a delay. If you still have questions regarding the Daylight computer, go ahead and toss it in. We're going to still cover that. But then I think we have just a little bit of time to talk about the Obsidian Web Clipper, which I did want to show. So let's swap it over. Boom. Let's see. Okay, cool. So we got the camera view back. Let me reset my desk real quick. All right. Bum, bum, bum. All right. Cool. That's something I'm going to have to consider, is how to make this a little bit easier to transition between the two parts. Okay, cool. So now that we know that, let's see. Bum, 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 bum. Okay. All right. Cool. So now hopefully let's see if this still works. Switching on over. Hey. Okay. We're great. So for sort of basically we have the last 10-15 minutes. I want to go ahead and talk about something that actually got released this week. Ooh, almost spilling over my drink. Shoot. Hang on a second. We'll try that again momentarily. That would have been bad. All right. Cool. Okay. So restarting that. Okay. So as far as this week goes, something that the Obsidian team did release is the new Obsidian Web Clipper. So this is essentially an extension for your browser that allows you to easily create notes inside of Obsidian. So let's demo this. Okay, so my workflow prior to this. So let me close all tabs. Boom. Okay, let's do this. So if I were to create, like, let's say right now I wanted to look into this particular website, right? I'd probably be like, okay, cool. So we got like, let's say Obsidian Web Clip. Actually, let me just delete this file first. This is a test one. So I'd be like, hey, okay, I have this Obsidian Web Clipper I want to like look into. So I would have created this. And then my current workflow was something along the lines of like, okay, like I put them side by side. I might copy the URL real quick. And so using the Arc browser, there's a way to copy the URL. So that's what you see there. So say, okay, there's my URL. Cool. And then I basically would like jot notes in here regarding like different functionality for it, right? Be like, cool, like it does citations, footnotes, etc. The only thing though is that, as you can see, this is a little bit manual and requires a decent number of workflows for like having the shortcut to copy a URL, jot down notes, and do all that fun stuff. What basically the web clipper allows you to do, so I'm going to go ahead and add it. Actually, I don't think I have this on my profile right now, so let me just add this right now. Boom. Okay, cool. So the reason this is very cool is that if we take the Obsidian Web Clipper, you can see here that it basically toggles or creates this pop-up. Whoop, where'd it go? Nope. Clipper. Here we go. Okay. So we can see here, it actually goes ahead and populates a note with these sort of notes. Now, again, it's funny. I've seen this recipe now pop up a couple times in my tests, but basically let's go ahead and add this and just show you what happens. So if I open this, you'll see here, it's dropped everything in that you would expect from it, which is pretty great. So it automatically has like the source, the author, etc. All this stuff is great. And so what's really useful about this though, is that if we go ahead and I don't think this is going to work just yet because when I played with this earlier, but if we turn on the highlight mode, yeah, this is not working yet because we need to refresh the page in order for the extension to have access to it. There we go. You'll see here, they have this actually really great UI selection bit, which actually should remind any web developers of like basically a web element inspector. And so you can go ahead and actually be like, hey, this stuff is pretty cool. I like the fact that templates can customize the vault. Let's see, you can easily highlight stuff. So this is cool. I like that. And then cool. And then I think that's basically it. And so you notice here though, there's this overlay on the bottom. I think it pops up in different places depending on your basically your preferences. And so all this stuff, basically when you say clip highlights, it basically jots it down directly into that note. So now if I add it, you'll see here that it creates a new note. And so in this regard, it's less ideal because I would say that if I do the clipper, this is already something I'm noticing, is that it doesn't actually detect that there is already a clipper note inside of Obsidian. I'm not even sure that would be feasible. But as a result, oh wait, here we go. It actually has some notes here. But then if I click highlight, does it know that I highlighted the other stuff before? Oh, here we go. It looks like it's open source. Clips, clip those highlights, and then add to Obsidian. Okay, so it looks like what it does is it does save what you've highlighted, but it does seem to create a new note every single time. And so not in that regard, from like a workflow, there's a little bit of friction in that regard. But this part I think is super useful because a lot of times for those of us who are using Obsidian for research and stuff, it's really great to be able to see all this stuff in a way that basically integrates into the workflow. And so if I open up my own blog, for example, and I was trying to learn how to use the night owl theme, for example. Boop. So we can do the clipper. And so here we can see here, I see what it did. It actually copied the entire article inside of, that's funny. That's really funny that there's a recipe that shows up for the Web Clipper website. But beside the point, you can see here now, if I copy and paste this, if I just add the note, oh, that is pretty cool. It actually pulled all the stuff, source, and then actually copied all the, oh, no, it did not copy all the images. Sorry, it's just using the URL I was going to say. And so, this is pretty impressive, I gotta say. Now, granted, there's some extraneous stuff in here, but for like, hey, this is an article I'd like to read later, this could be very interesting because, okay, so you're probably thinking like, I don't really, because for example, I don't use these front matter properties. And so if we go into the Obsidian Clipper, inside of the settings, you can actually toggle what properties they are. So for me, for example, instead of source, oh, it's not letting me change that. Okay, can I import properties? Let me see, how do I do this? Types in the Obsidian folder inside of your vault. Okay. So let me open this file in my vault. Let's see, open in Finder. Boop. Oh, it's automated. It's putting it inside of a clippings folder. Well, that's interesting. Okay. I don't know how I feel about that from my own personal organization, but that's cool that at least like it's being clear that these are things you've clipped. So I do like the fact that it's already delineated. But then, okay, so we go and take a look at the Obsidian. We have types.json. All right, so that's that. And then so if I say import, and then I can drag and drop here. Here we go. Whoa, okay. So now it's populating a ton of stuff. And so interesting. That means there's a wiki link join here for authors created. You have to add to your template. You have to add to your template. Oh, you mean the new oh, you mean here? More. The only thing though with the template though, okay, so you have your vault. Oh yeah, so this is where you determine your vault location, right? The clippings, that's fine. I'm totally fine with the note. Create new note. Oh, here we go. So the template can add to an existing note at the bottom, add to daily note at the bottom. Oh, this is cool. Okay, so I could see a couple use cases for this. So to an existing note, does it say which existing note? 1.72 or later. Yes, okay, got it. So cool. Okay, so this is actually, okay, this is the friction that I was talking about earlier. See, this is why reading docs and playing around with stuff helps sometimes. But it looks like then by that argument, if I go back to the Web Clipper and I decide to say, hey, let's clip, whoops, that was the wrong thing. If I, Obsidian Web Clipper. So if we go back to here and we want to clip it, at this point, I really should create a keynote, key for it. So this is the new template, properties, nothing there. Okay, so then default, I see, okay. Default properties. So then default properties, I see, here we go. This is where you modify it. Oh, I see. Okay, so what I did earlier when I imported all this stuff, this is for us to basically autocomplete within the template. So for me, for example, I don't do, actually source probably does make sense, but for now I technically do URL. That's probably what I do, but source does make more sense if I'm being honest. So you have to add your template, yep. And then you can do created published, yeah. Okay, this is cool. So for example, I would probably do type clipping, if what I would do. And then note content, you just have the content pre-populated. Cool. So let's test this out real quick though, because I don't always want to create a new note. I'd rather add to an existing note at the bottom if possible. And so requires 1.2, that's fine. This should work. So let me delete the new template. So the default is to add to an existing note on the bottom. So let's test this out, shall we? So if we go now to Obsidian Web Clipper here, and we clip said thing. All right, so we have the Obsidian Web Clipper. Let me highlight, let's see, 1, 2, 1, 2, like that. So clip the highlights. So we have some stuff here. And then if we add to Obsidian, it correctly appended it below. Great. So if I delete everything now, and then let's try this one more time. So if we clip, highlight, interesting. It does. Oh, okay. So as you can see, all the clips are archived on the extension itself, but obviously I've deleted it in here, so there's no two-way syncing. And then we can clip the highlight once again, add to Obsidian, and sure enough, that's what's happening. Okay. Pretty cool. Okay, so ironing those things out already is a pretty big deal. I would say, because now going forward, I know for me, as I go through reading articles, whatnot, and people recommend stuff, it incentivizes you to just quickly capture things rather than keeping a tab open, which I like a lot. Because, for instance, in the event, I mean, for example, yeah, I mean, I'm overthinking this. If someone had, for example, if I was watching this and I was like, ooh, the Obsidian Web Clipper looks interesting, the Clipper would allow me to grab this URL, but more importantly, even after the note is created, I have this recommended by field. I can be like, oh yeah, Ben Hong was the one who recommended it. And then I can go back in the future. And then like I have statuses. So I'll have like status backlog. And so especially if I have like typed content inside of here, like this is content, has a status, a backlog. So for example, I would have a dashboard that has content that's backlogged, that's recommended by whoever. And then that way in the future, when I'm going through things, I can just easily tag those things and be like, oh, I meant to look at Web Clipper more because, again, I had recommended it. And so little things like this make, I think, the filing things away for later reference that much easier, which I'm super excited about for this particular web extension. So regarding the friction that I complained about, or that I mentioned earlier, clearly I just hadn't, I had not dove deep enough regarding how that part works. So that part is pretty cool. And then, yeah, I mean, otherwise, as you can see, you have different templates. So actually, now I think about it, that's what you would actually do. Scratch that. You would probably just have different statuses for things you're clipping to read later, for example. So, I mean, I would probably have something like let's do it, read later. Create new note makes a lot of sense. Note here, and then we can leave it there. We can use it, the vaults. Oh, you can actually trigger it based on different patterns. Oh my. That's fascinating. But anyways, so then I can be like, so I can say oh, the status is not being brought up. Maybe because it's not a text one. So we have status. Yep. And then this one is, yep. Interesting. Okay. So then I would say something like, I think I had file cabinet, and I'd say backlog. Something like that. So now if we test out this template real quick, yeah, let's say I wanted to read, let's click another one of my blog posts, check inline fields with Obsidian, and we wanted to clip this. We can then say, oh yeah, so you can see read later, add to Obsidian. And so you can see here, there you go. There's my status, there's my backlog. Although, yeah, my backlog looks like it's something, so I have to match that. So you don't get the autocomplete you get from the vault, that it doesn't know the existing values, because that's one of the things I do like about using the properties. But once you mirror that, honestly, this should be minimal editing. So that, I don't really consider that a, do not consider that a friction point from a UX perspective. But anyhow, okay. So let's see. So to summarize regarding the Web Clipper, this thing is great. If you're using Obsidian, I mean, unless you never browse on the web and you're never looking at an article again, I don't know. This seems like honestly an essential extension to have in Obsidian, given that anytime you're writing something, you want to clip something, and as long as you just fill out the infrastructure a little bit regarding your properties, it seems like it adds a huge benefit from an automation perspective. So, yeah, I think that's that. Cool. So, that is a wrap for today. As far as Ben's office hours goes, we got quite a bit done, actually, which I'm excited about. So we got to talk about the new Daylight computer, which I'll be honest, I got over the weekend and I was really tempted to open it during, but I'm glad I waited. So now we have the whole unboxing experience and as well as first impressions. So we'll hear more about that as time goes on, because I assure you I will be using it. And then especially now that I think about it, I'm going to try to get the do the Obsidian Web extension on the Daylight computer as well. So exciting times. Gosh. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I do want to mention. Okay, yes, I guess as far as first impressions go, people are probably wondering, like, should I buy it? Should I pre-order it? So I pre-ordered this way back in, like, I think it was April when I first pre-ordered it. The device isn't cheap from that perspective. I think I want to say it was like I actually can't remember now. It's not a cheap device. It's one of those things where if it's gonna solve a specific problem for you, particularly regarding LED light usage and like your eyes are dealing with a lot of strain, and for whatever reason maybe you feel more creative using a device like this rather than an iPad, because actually I didn't even bring that out, but I have that as well. Like anything else, you can justify, I think, just about any purchase as long as you actually get the value out of it. From a standard computing perspective, however, like if you're just like, oh, like, should I spend my money on this device? Like, I think it remains to be seen until I play around with it more, whether or not, because this as a device, I would say, is very promising. So I look forward to like when they find ways to like make it thinner, a little bit more portable. Those I think will be big wins for this particular device that I do think eventually could merit the price tag. But given sort of its weight at this point, and if you only are using it to say like, if you're just reading, you're just taking a couple notes, and like you're not sure this will enhance your life that much, it's hard to justify, I think, the price tag on this from that perspective. And also, actually, something I didn't even mention at the beginning of this is that all of these products that you see that I get, and I'll try to be better at this going forward. Like none of these are sponsored. I haven't been sent anything. I don't have any incentive from the company to speak positively about this or anything. So I'm telling you this from like as a normal consumer of devices. Now, granted, I nerd out about this stuff, and I kind of collect a lot of these things, so that's why you get the benefit of sharing all these device opinions with me. But otherwise, this again, very promising. I look forward to what the Daylight Computing team was going to do. And so, we're talking first impressions. I will definitely share more as time goes on. And so, again, be sure to follow on Blue Sky. I'm there under bencodezen.io, and check me out there. But otherwise, for everyone who is here for the stream, thanks so much for hanging out. And otherwise, I guess I will see you all next week. Thanks, everyone.